everyone. I promise you I wasn't trying to create a suspense. We were just waiting for the clicker to come back in. First of all, good morning. Let's do this again. You just had breakfast. You just got in here. We need some energy. Good morning. All right. So welcome to this session. Just by introduction, my name is Atul Dalmia. I am the Chief Analytics Officer of this small boutique investment bank you might have heard of called Morgan Stanley. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about AI. I can assure you between today and tomorrow, you're probably going to hear AI, Gen AI, and large language models so many times, it's worth playing a beer drinking game every time you hear those words. And I'm pretty sure not a lot of you will last through the day at the rate at which it'll go. AI is everywhere. And I think it becomes real when I speak to my 9-year-old daughter and ask her a question, and he's like, "Dad, just ask ChatGPT. Why are you wasting my time?" And that's when you know it's like really spreading all the way through. I'll take a quick show of hands. We'll talk a lot about AI, but the theme of our message is going to be, how are we thinking about AI in context of solving business problems? So, quick show of hands, and I'll ask the question to be very specific. How many of you over the last few months have got the question from your boss, the board, the CEO, specifically saying, "Hey, get me a Gen AI use case"? Again, not tell me what problem you can solve, but get me a Gen AI use case so I can talk back to the board. Just quick raise of hands. All right, I see quite a few hands raised. And I think we are touching the whole problem where AI is a phenomenal tool. It's something that will help, but the gist of it is this. A lot of financial companies today have this problem where you are almost chasing the solution versus trying to think through how you solve the problem. And hopefully, as we go through today, I'll walk you through how we have thought about it. It's a fantastic tool. I truly believe it's once in a 20-year technology. But the key to the whole thing is to make sure that you have problems that you have not been able to solve or you can solve better and use this as a tool versus chase the other way around. So just to give you a quick overview of the firm, Morgan Stanley is a wealth management firm. We always have investment banking, investment management, but I lead analytics for the wealth management firm. And at the gist of it, we have a lot of products and services, which is why we believe our clients come to us. We have about 18 million client relationships, which go across individuals, entities, people who are managing the stock plan solutions with us. We have obviously a ton of assets, and we have advisors. And we have always thought about our clients as two. One is the individuals and entities, but also the advisors. And so a lot of my presentation today is going to be about how are we using AI to help both the clients, the 18 million clients, as well as the 16,000 advisors who are a critical part of us growing a business and how we think about applications in that. The theme you'll see throughout is what is the problem we are solving, how did we use AI to address the problem, what have we learned, which I think is a very big part of the way we think about it, and then finally, what are the business metrics that we drove as a result of it. So for us as a firm, we've always believed in creating intelligence. I always tell my team, your job is to create intelligence versus the coolest analytics, which is nice, but that really doesn't drive value. So we've always thought about, you need the data, you need analytics, and AI is just adding that to a whole new level. But at the end, you are trying to give insights for the business to solve problems, which is really what we are trying to get done. So our starting point is the problem, rather than solving for AI. And then we fundamentally believe that AI is going to help augment human intelligence. We still think our financial advisors are the best equipped to work with our clients, but AI can give them tools and augment their effectiveness versus replacing them. I'm sure a lot of you are getting this question. Will AI replace humans? Will AI take over everything? It's a fantastic automation tool. It'll increase efficiency. But at the end, it works very well when you have the human and AI working together. So let me talk a little bit about evolution of AI. I'm sure a lot of you are going through very similar journeys, so hopefully you can relate to this. So we started off, obviously, with machine learning. where you really go towards behavioral, whether it's clients, whether it's advisors, just being able to predict them and predict behaviors and figure out how to apply them. They obviously outperform traditional models like your logistic regression models. And there were a lot of wonderful techniques, random forest, GBM, and I think some of them still work very well for certain problems. So this is how we started. It then went towards scale and what I call our AI-powered client engagement solutions. So this just took these tools and just went it to a highly automated, scaled models where we'll talk about a couple of use cases. We have something called Genome, which is our AI-powered client engagement engine. We have Next Best Action, which is something we built a few years since to help our advisors figure out how to engage their clients. And these extensively use scale and started using deep learning. And that's where we drove a lot of business outcomes. But the part now that we're really excited about is how do we use generative AI along with what we have built so far to take us to the next level. I think it's pretty publicly known. We started working with OpenAI about 2 years ago. And we've been very lucky that we've actually built out the underlying infrastructure with OpenAI, partnering with them directly. So it's not a third-party tool. They work with us directly on our infrastructure, which has helped us train our algos. And one of the first rollouts for us is a very intuitive outcome, is we have so much content, research, and advisors today, when they're looking for answers to their questions when their clients call them, would typically go through and search, look up articles, read articles, where now, with a very simple query, which is powered by OpenAI, you can actually get the answers in a very consumable form that you can then speak to your clients. So it's tremendously increasing the advisor's efficiency. They're getting a very crisp answer to the question, and they can actually engage their clients much better than saying, hey, I'll come back in 24 hours, which is not the most effective outcome that you're looking for. Obviously, this involves LLMs. And I'll talk through, as I talk through the use cases, how are we thinking about Gen AI and LLMs in our use cases. But the real power for us right now is we have so much knowledge and content, using the power of these tools to be able to bring it all together and give very simple views where advisors can be so much more effective with their time is really a place where we're starting off on. So let me walk through 3 use cases, hopefully just to bring it to life. How we're thinking about AI for our clients and experiences. The first use case I'll talk about is how do we digitally engage our clients with the right ideas. What does ideas mean? It's really different content that we believe are relevant for our clients. So tomorrow when Lisa Golia or Mike Wilson send out a research article, does that make sense for you? Are you at that stage where you are just looking, your stocks are maturing, and all you really want to see is, do you want to put it in a money market fund or in a fixed income solution? Are you at the stage where you are retiring and you're looking for retirement solutions? We want to help you with products and services we have that are relevant for you. So that's the first use case. The second is how do we enable advisors to be successful, which is how do they engage their clients? How do they grow the business? I talked about the use of Gen AI. We'll talk a little bit more about how we're thinking about it. And lastly, this is one of the most important things for us, which is we have all these advisors, we have all these clients. How do we figure out how do you match them? What insights can we bring together to make sure that you are connected to an advisor that makes most sense for you? The advisor is working on clients that help them to grow the most. And the science behind how have we done this matching of matching our advisors to our clients. So those are 3 use cases. Again, like I said, I'll describe the problem, how we went about it, what have we learned, and the metrics at the end of it, and how we're thinking going forward using Gen AI to support these. So the first use case, just a problem statement. Historically, I think a lot of you probably who have worked with Morgan Stanley always know of the advisors who help you out. The firm, over the last few years, has heavily grown. We acquired E-Trade, which was a digital brokerage solution where you can go in and trade yourself. We've acquired companies which help us manage the stock plan business. So we manage the stock plan business for clients, and when you have stocks vesting, you made a lot of money with Apple and Amazon recently, and you want to know what to do with it. That's another time where you want to step in, but that's, again, a digital engagement. And so historically, what we would do is we would do what a lot of you probably do, is run marketing campaigns and figure out what makes sense. But the key questions are, what client factors drive higher engagement? Not when you do one idea at a time. When you're trying to do 30 ideas at a time in an automated manner, how do we know what motivates which client to be able to engage more with us? How do we personalize multiple ideas? This, I think, is something that you all are probably facing. It's easy to optimize one idea at a time. How do you do multiple ideas and content at the same time to be very, very effective, and at the same time be able to explain to somebody who calls you and say, why did I get this particular content? How do you explain it in a very easy manner? So that's the second part of the challenge. And then most importantly, we are in this environment where clients value experience a lot. So you cannot have a case where I called you and you tell me something else, and you give me, hey, this content makes a lot of sense. Next time I log in into my mobile app, and it looks completely different. They want a consistent experience across all channels, and a lot of you who do multi-channel work, you probably appreciate the challenge where data doesn't sit in one place, channels are not connected. How do you make that experience work consistently across all? So these are the three problems we were trying to solve. So what we built out is what we branded ourselves as Genome, but it's really an AI-based client engagement engine. And I'll describe how it works, and hopefully it's something that you can all relate to, or probably some of you already started doing this, is we bought all the client attributes in one place. So we have over 1,500 different client attributes that we bring together. Doesn't matter which channel you interact. It talks about your wealth, your age, your distribution, and we brought together all the different ideas that we want to potentially consider. So it's over 40 ideas that come together at that particular time. So you're taking everything I know about the client, all the different ideas I want to dial up, and then most importantly, capture all the channel interactions that come back. So you can see here, what we did was we had the starting information which helped us figure out what do people like. We then put it in market and see how they reacted on different channels, whether it was phone, email, text, social, mobile. We captured all those interactions together. And then you have a deep learning algo, which then starts personalizing based on who the client is, how they have reacted, and you keep refreshing that interaction. So every day, you are having a different, you have different offers and content which makes sense in you based on not just how you have engaged, but how people like you have engaged. This sounds like a very easy concept. It's extremely difficult to execute without having the data and the engines together. And this has been something that we are extremely proud about. We'll talk about what we have learned. So what we have learned, which is, again, some of them are very intuitive, but to have the fact to support it. One is that certain characteristics, doesn't matter which idea it is, somebody who's digitally engaging is going to engage. But what was a big aha for us was a lot of the factors that would motivate a client to react to a particular idea varies across ideas. That's really what AI and algos help you figure out as to what makes sense to different clients for different ideas. The second part, which is actually very interesting, is not all the, especially when you go to neural nets, not all the attributes are intuitive. You often see a few intuitive ones, so maybe out of 10, 5 are very intuitive, but you always see 5 which your first reaction is like, how does this make sense? And then when you actually see the patterns, you see that that's really the value that algos are bringing. It's helping us capture non-intuitive variables which actually drive the right outcome, but a human wouldn't have guessed that up front. And then the challenge which comes together is how you then take all of this intelligence that's being created, but then be able to explain back to somebody who's called in and said, so a ton of work going into explainability, which I think you'll hear that all the way through. And the last part, which is not surprising, is when you engage clients across multiple channels, you often end up driving higher engagement. So none of these, if you were to look at it, would be surprising, but we're now able to demonstrate that with outcomes and facts. And why does it matter? We got scale, so we were able to contact 6 times more than what we would typically do. We got much higher engagement rate, so people, because we were giving them relevant ideas, had 1.5x higher engagement. And most importantly, because they were engaged, they brought in their assets to be able to help us grow. So it's a clear example of AI can drive outcomes, And now think of the evolution of this. Today, we sent out static emails for a particular idea. Tomorrow, as GenAI comes in, you can completely customize the content, the way you talk to clients, based on what we know about them. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's no longer optimizing on types of ideas. It's actually completely customizing the content that you would receive, which would make sense for you. So that's really the space that we're looking at right now. Use case 2, just to make it a little bit more real, this is the part I talked about earlier. We have advisors who are extremely experienced. Those of you who work with advisors, you can see there's often a strong legacy family relationship. Very often, it's people passing it down to the next generation. So it's literally like a family. And what they want, and the other thing I've seen is they're very, very data savvy. They are very, very driven by facts. And if you can show them that you have insight that can help add value, they always consume it. So they are looking for AI-powered capabilities to help them engage their clients, and then how do they grow the business? And so the key question for us was, how can we help advisors figure out which clients to engage, because they have a lot of them. It doesn't make sense to spend all the time without knowing who to go after. What is the best way to do it? Should they call? Should they email? Should they just go and see them in a family function or at an event? And lastly, what insights can we give advisors to be able to help them grow the business faster? So we did something very similar. There's a AI-powered next best action engine. So what it tells advisors is it combines their expertise. The algos look at what the clients have engaged historically, and we give the advisor a lot of content that would make sense. So in the digital channel, we are pushing the content out via digital channels. Here, we are dialing up the same content for the advisor, who then combines intuition of, hey, I just met this person yesterday, the person wasn't in a great mood, let me hold this off, send it to the day later. Or I just heard him say this yesterday, maybe this content makes a lot of sense. So it brings together the value of the algos with the human intuition. And what it helps us, and we have seen that, again, I'll walk through the results, a tremendous lift in clients who are engaged using this combination of human and algos versus just the person deciding who to go after. The insights and growth enablers is what I touched on with the Gen AI use case, is we are telling our advisors which clients are growing. We are giving them consolidated intelligence about market movements, about outlooks, about what to expect, that they can then consistently give to their clients and help them grow the business. At the end, it's this insight about their clients, about who like to engage digitally, which are helping advisors have much more meaningful conversations and help grow their own business as well as make the clients more effective. So what we have learned, advisors who use these AI-powered tools are definitely engaging more clients and growing faster, which is important. Those who use digital capabilities clearly outshine those who don't. It's just the power of information that we're handing over to them that makes it more effective. And the last part is not surprising, is the more you can engage in warm leads, which is you engage with them through site, through emails, that makes the phone conversation much more effective because they have a sense of the brand and the products you're talking about. And lastly, again, no surprise, the more you engage across multiple channels, the more you grow. So just to give you a sense, this is again going to be very intuitive, but we now have facts with AI to support, is if you essentially had the likelihood of conversion being 1x in a normal circumstance, when you warm somebody, you get twice a lift. When you have them attend an event where you're having the in-person extension, you get an even higher lift. When you have a dedicated person assigned to the to the client, you see an even further lift. And finally, when you have a stock plan relationship on top of having a personal relationship, you see the highest lift. So again, the fact that we are able to tie this with data and insights to be able to power outcomes is what makes this very, very compelling. And I think, again, like I said, this is one of the spaces where Gen AI is going to be the most compelling because it's helping us aggregate information, drive higher efficiency, and really make the advisors free up their time to focus in on what you believe is the right piece to do, which is to have those conversations and get the clients to be able to grow better. The last use case, which is where I think it comes together, is we've grown our businesses across different areas. We have stock plan, like I said. We have clients who are historically only engaging digitally, who, as they grew their wealth, wanted to talk to somebody because they don't want to manage all their assets themselves. They want a human to help them out. And so we have this exercise where we match different individuals to the best advisor. And the questions, again, is what factors across both advisors and individuals helps bring them all together? Are these factors that we can influence, or it's just uncontrollable? And then can we help our algo to basically match them in the most constructive manner and be able to help them grow? So this is really a lead matching algorithm that we built in-house. It really brings together, I think what's very powerful is all the attributes we know about the individuals, but all the attributes about the advisors. There's an ongoing learning on what's been effective in terms of actual conversions historically. Conversions is just converting somebody for a full advice relationship. And that loop comes back. And that's what makes it so compelling, is our algorithms are continuously learning. And the place where this becomes so much more exciting with Gen AI is today what happens is a lot of these conversations that we've had have been calls, have been logged notes, and we've never been able to truly monetize the insights we get from them because it's a lot of work. Now, with a lot of the Gen AI tools, your ability to carve out the driver of the conversation when it's a call, when it's a Salesforce log notes, or any of those, and bring that into this algorithm makes it so powerful. So now when somebody calls in, we're not guessing what they called for. We're actually taking the insight of that, and that feeds into the algorithm, which is where I think it's going to be extremely, extremely powerful. So what have we learned? We've seen some advisors are better than others, which is always going to be the case. And we are capturing the attributes of those who are very effective to be able to help train who have not been the most effective in helping them grow. There are certain attributes about clients what makes it very exciting. So how do you take those insights and marry it to the right advisor is what makes this extremely successful. Digital engagement is a constant theme that we see that makes advisors who are very successful they use multi-channel versus just picking up the phone all the time. And I think what makes it extremely compelling is what I think a lot of you relate to, is the fact that there's multiple dimensions of interactions that you can now feed in and figure out what drives the maximum value versus being limited to one channel or one attribute of the clients. Again, we got like a 60% lift in market testing that we've done, and that's what makes it so much more compelling. And I'm super excited about the opportunities that we have now as we use a lot of our, like I said, call data, client interaction data that today gets logged as text to be able to mine to really understand what our clients are looking for. I'll end with the last note. Hopefully these examples, I know we spoke about things that were relevant for Morgan Stanley, but make it real for you in your businesses. I think I just want to summarize a few things we have learned, which hopefully help you as you think about your own. I think I've touched this like so many times, you probably like are bored of hearing this, but don't solve for AI. Solve for the problem, think about how AI helps. You probably will get a lot of questions about what are you doing for AI, but at the end, this always works much better because then you have an outcome to support versus investing a lot of money and then not being able to defend at the end as to what you did with all the investment. This is something that we have done. There's always a wish list to build everything new from scratch. It takes a ton of investment. I think you all know that we are in a race for time. You have to be able to test concepts now. So the way we have gone about is we are augmenting existing use cases. We are augmenting tools we have in place rather than build everything from scratch. And that is a much better way to, A, roll it out in market, and more importantly, not just roll it out, show success along the way, so that makes you a case to be able to invest more in the future. I'm a big believer in augmenting existing capabilities versus building things from scratch, just because it also helps you justify the ROI of the investment along the way. I cannot explain this. I think a lot of you will relate. The algos are as good as the data. continue to make sure that the places where you're setting up these environments have the data in place. And now, with some of these tools, and this is where we spend a lot of time, is to make sure the data is not just in there, it's not leaving your system. And having data more from an accuracy perspective, but also having the right governance around it is extremely, extremely important. Last, there's something that we've learned, and I know it might sound a little preachy, but it's not very often when things don't work, it's not because you have a technology issue. Very often it's because you haven't rallied the org around. At this time, anybody who's rolling out any sort of AI intelligence knows that it's not just about the algos. You have to engage your partners properly, whether it's your legal, risk, and compliance partners. You have to make sure the data security is set up properly. You have to make sure your business stakeholders understand what's in play. And you have to make sure the clients understand what's happening. It is a very common verse, and just saying I'm using AI is not sufficient. And very often you get tripped up not because you can't technically solve it, it's because you haven't engaged your partners properly. And last but not the least, you will fail. Trust me, we've tried 10 things, 1 to work, but those are amazing. But if you don't try the 10, you'll never figure out the 1 or 2. Especially as this journey goes on, just because people are declaring victory on cases and you are not succeeding, don't worry. They are probably not all succeeding as well. They're just highlighting the good pieces. It's like for my kids, they always hear the good stories about their friends, never what doesn't work. But just keep plugging along. You will learn from failure. You'll get better from failure. We see failure every day, but that's how we learn and grow. So that was it from me. I'm happy to chat outside for questions. Again, my final message was, AI is extremely compelling. It can work really well. Just make sure you're thinking about how it helps grow your business, and that'll be a much effective outcome than just trying to solve for the best AI. All right? Thank you so much.